move on from our last lesson and dive deeper into the requests. So we are going to first of all notice the driver that a customer for him has been found. Then we must tell the driver the location of the pickup, and finally we must tell the customer where the driver is, so that he can know if he's close, far, and so on. So first of all, I'm going to grab our database, real-time database, and explain to you how you're going to accomplish that. So first of all, to let the driver know that he has a customer waiting for him, we are going to, inside the users, then the child drivers, and in the driver ID, we are going to add a child below this. That's going to be called something like customer ride ID. Let's say that is, and the ID of the customer in front of it. So then we can, in the driver map activity, be listening for that child, and if that child suddenly exists, then we know that this driver has a customer request. And if the driver has a customer request, then we'll remove him from the drivers available and move him into another child called drivers working. And the drivers working will tell the customer where the driver is at the moment. Okay? So I know that this sounds complicated and it's a lot of going up and down and sideways, but you'll see that it is simple. So let's close that and go into our project. So this is where we left off in the last lesson. We learned how we can actually find the driver, and that is all done. We have the driver found ID, which is the driver that is going to be working for this customer. So now the first thing that we are going to do is to actually create the child that's going to be inside this one, that's going to tell the driver who the customer is. And to do that, we do apply what we've learned throughout these lessons. So we are going to create a reference, driver ref, say it like that, then firebase database dot get instance dot get reference users dot get reference, okay, no, dot get reference dot child users, that's the way you do it, capital U, dot child drivers, and that's not it. We must also add the child driver found ID. Okay, now we must get the current user ID, so the customer ID equals firebase auth dot get instance dot get current user dot get UID. That's it. Now we are going to create an hash map, and new hash map, map dot put customer ride ID, comma, user customer ID. Map dot put actually don't need another put, we just need to put it into the driver ref. So driver ref. In here isn't red, here is ref, so let's do that. Dot update children map, and that will do the trick. So after that, the customer ID will be inside this child, and that child, the customer ID child, will have a name of customer ride ID. So now, after this is done, we are going to get the driver location for the customer. So we will create another function, and let's call it get driver location. And right after that, we can also change the text of the button so the user knows that the driver has been found. Request. This is the button to call the Uber, don't forget. And we'll use it just to tell the status of the request. So right now the status is looking for driver location. Okay, the dots there. And now we are going to actually create this function. So let's call it private void get driver location. And after that is all done, we are going to create an event listener that will be always, or better yet, after the user has been found, will be listening for changes in the driver's working child, which right now it doesn't exist. It only exists after the driver has been found, and when the driver has been found, then this whole child will move into the driver's working. Okay? And that child will tell us the location of the driver, the current updated location. So let's do again, actually let's just copy what we have up here. There's no need to complicate things. Driver location ref. And it is drivers working and driver found ID and child L. And you must say child L because that's the way GeoFire stores its values. It has a G with a string that you don't really need, and an L where there is an array, a list of latitude and longitude. So that's the way we are going to do it. And now let's actually go ahead and add the event listener, the value listener. Add value event listener, new value event listener. And now the only one that we are going to use is on data change. So every time the location changes, this function will be called, which will happen every second or so. So if data snapshot dot exist, it is really important that you put this, because if it doesn't exist, then the app will crash. It is just a prevention measure. Now let's add the list object map equals to list object data snapshot dot get value, and this line will put everything that we get from data snapshot into a nice list that we can work with much easier. Now we are going to call the latitude and longitude, and they are doubles. So location lat equals to 0, and double location 1 equals to 0 as well. Now we can say that the driver has been found, so we can actually grab the button, move it here, and say driver found. Now we are going to get the data from this value, and we are going to make sure that it exists. So get and the index 0, which is going to be this one, the first one, which is a latitude, I believe. If map.get 0 different from null, and this is just a prevention measure, because if it returns null, then it would, if you didn't have this if, it would crash. So just to be sure, location latitude equals map.get 0.toString, and you'll see why I say toString in a bit, because this is a double and you might find it awkward. So now we are going to pass the string back to double, which is the one that we want. So parse double, and there it is. Now let's do the same for the latitude, or the longitude, excuse me. So long. Okay, and now we are going to add a marker to the map pointing to where the driver is, using this latitude and longitude. And we accomplish that first of all by calling a latitude longitude variable. Let's call it driver latitude longitude equals to new latitude longitude location lat and location long. Okay, now we are going to create a marker, and we are going to do it outside our function. So let's do it here, and driver marker, and we do this in order to reset every time a new location is put into place, because if we didn't remove it, it will just add markers and more markers and more markers, and we'll be left with a map full of markers, and that isn't very useful to us. So, and driver marker different from null. So if it isn't the first time that we are adding a marker, then we can go ahead and remove it. You must have the if, otherwise the app will crash, because it will try to remove something that doesn't exist at the moment. So now add mmap.add marker, new marker options dot position driver latitude and longitude dot title. Even though the user won't have enough time to see the title, we'll just call it in the same. So your driver, let's say it like that. And for the driver, that is all. There is nothing else we need to do. So we tell the driver which customer that he is going to have to attend to, and that was the first point. Then we get the driver location to tell the customer where his driver is. That is all. Let's move on and go to the driver map activity, and move on to the driver side of things. It will be a bit more complicated, but we can do it just as nicely. So let's go in here, and the first thing that we're going to do is to get the customer that was assigned to this driver. So we need to create a variable of the type string called customer ID, Let's just initialize it just for good measures. And after this all is done, let's call the get assigned customer, and let's create this function, private void. Okay, and in here we are going to have a listener that's always checking for changes inside this child. So let's go ahead and let's go back to customers and grab everything, because that's everything that we need. Grab that, and let's call it assigned customer ref. Let's say driver ID, users, drivers. Okay, yeah, let's remove that. Let's leave it like this. Better yet, we need to add, so this is backwards because it needs to be on top, and a child pointing to this driver, which is the only driver that we have. So depending on the one that it's logged in, it will point to that one. Now we are going to move on and add a listener in here. So add value event listener, just as we did before. Value new, capital V, value event listener. Again, the on cancel is not needed, and we'll repeat the same process. So data snapshot dot exists. And now, instead of list, we are going to call map, because it is an array list. It is a map with strings and objects. Object, not object, sorry. Call it map. Again, string object, data snapshot dot value. That is all done. Now let's again check if that child exists. Let's do it like this. So customer right ID, I believe that's what we called it. Yeah, here it is. So customer right ID, let's put that under like that, different from null. And if it is different from null, then we can save it to this variable. Customer ID equals to map.get customer right ID dot toString. And now we are going to get the pickup location from this customer ID. So now that we have the customer ID, we know the child in which that request is in the customer request child. So let's say that this is the customer that we want. It will appear inside of here, and then this driver will know that he must look in this child for the pickup location. Simple, huh? So let's do that. But we are going to create another function called getAssigned customer pickup location, and we are going to we don't need to pass any data because that's okay. So let's say it like that, and below this we are going to add private void getAssigned pickup location string customer ID. No, actually not. As I've said, that's not needed because this is a public string and it will be available to every function of this activity. So let's call again another event listener that's going to be listening for this location, and we can actually copy this so we can save some time because this will be a rather long lesson. And in here we are going to pick it up from here because it is the same, looks the same, it is not the same. So change that customer ID, and in here is going to be customer request. Assign customer ref. Customer. No. Assign customer pickup location. So customer pickup location. Let's call it that. I know that name is long, but in programming it's really important to give names that have to do with what we are doing. So let's keep it like that so it is easier for you to understand. And now in here we are going to, instead of a map, we are going to use a list again. Remember what I've told you before, it is an array, it isn't a list, because in here it isn't strings, it is numbers. Okay? So just say object, and we must then import the list library. Okay, now list object data snapshot.getValue. And let's just grab it from the customer ID because it is in here somewhere. Okay, it is here, so let's just grab that to make it easy for us. And what we must change is, we can remove this because the pickup location is just called once, so we don't need to remove it. Let's just say pickup. Or actually, we don't even need this. Let's just add it directly. Remove that, and that's it. Let's just, and here is pickup location, and that's done. So as you can see, it is possible to find the driver. I said in the beginning that it will be somewhat hard, but as I was writing the code, I soon realized that it isn't hard at all. You must have a coherent logic throughout, and it will become easier. So I currently don't have two physical devices in order to test the app, but I will try to explain it as the app goes, using with the help of the real-time database. So the first thing that happens is that you get the closest driver and you create the child that will tell the driver which customer he must pick up. So with these lines of code, a child will be added in here, so it will look like customer request and then it has an ID. It is the same in here. It will have the ID of the customer. Then it will have to get the driver location. Or first of all, after this happens, in the driver map activity, this function will be triggered, because it is always running, and the data snapshot will all of a sudden exist because there is a child inside here. So the driver will know that there is a customer ID that's available to him. Then we'll get the pickup location, and in the pickup location we'll find this customer request and all the data that lives within it. So now all that's left is to tell the customer where the driver location is, because right now nothing happens, because we need the driver's working child to be working. So to do that, let's go into our onLocation changed in the driver map activity. And as you remember, this is what we use to put this data in here. Okay, so now all we need to do is to have a switch. We could use if statements for this, but I believe the switch is a lot nicer and prettier, so let's do it like this. And we'll switch the customer ID. So case the customer ID is empty, that means that no customers, that the driver doesn't need to pick up anyone because there is no customer assigned to him. And then we'll have the case default, which is anything, which is the default, not case, sorry, which is anything that anytime that the case is different from this, the default will be triggered. So let's break it at the end, and let's just get this all ready. So we can move this up top. Okay. Can also move these. I'm just moving up top the ones that are common to each state, with each case. And now we are going to need two refs. One for the drivers available and one for the working drivers. So let's call the first one ref available, and the second one ref working. Which is the name that we gave. Yes, it is all right. And now we are going to add the ref for each one of them. So geofire available and ref available and geofire working and ref working. Okay, and now we are going to first of all remove the location from the opposite of where they are. So in here, because the customer ID is null, that means that the driver is available. So we add we set the location to the geofire available, and we remove the location from geofire working. So remove location user ID. If the child, these drivers working, well, actually, let me rephrase it. If the driver ID doesn't exist in the drivers working, then there's no problem. It won't remove anything, so we might as well just remove the location. This is just for when the driver is working and stops being working and stops working and starts being available again. So let's copy that here and let's just move them. Okay, because this is the opposite action that happens, and that is all. Now it is all done. So after the driver gets everything, gets assigned location, then the location of the child in which his location is stored moves to the driver's working, which is here. And when it moves to the driver's working, this get driver location will be triggered, and the customer will learn where his driver is. So yeah, that's everything. As I said, I'm really sorry, but I can't test it right now. I'll try to maybe make a separate video if I get a hold of another Android device, and if I do, I'll keep posting on Twitter and tell you guys that I'll be launching a new video. And I'll do that because it is easier to see things happen in order to learn, and I understand that. And if you can, please download the project that will be linked down below in the Google Drive, and you can test it yourself if you have two Android devices. So yeah, the main goal of this project is done. In the next lesson we'll try to do some smaller stuff that was asked by some of you, such as getting the distance from the driver to the customer and notifying the customer when the driver actually gets to the customer. So that's what we will be doing in the next lessons. If you have a suggestion for any series, please let me know down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to do it for you, with or without Firebase, whatever you want. I will try to do it, and I will learn with you as much as I hope you are learning with me. So yeah, follow me on Twitter, leave a like, subscribe, and yeah.